Well, hello, hello. We are back again for another Other Ink Thursday, and this time I am joined by Phil and Medina Yenawine of Golden Keep Gaming Company, Golden Keep Gaming Co. They're co-owners over there at the Golden Keep, and that's a friendly local gaming store here in our sweet town of Louisville, Kentucky. And we've got a lot of the store is right down the street from Brandon's half of Wet Ink headquarters, so like he's been going over there a bunch. We've seen Phil and Medina come into the local cons, like Origins and Gamma and stuff that have been here. So like we've established a good relationship. They're our current like number one friendly local game store. So I had to have you two on to talk to me about like running a game store and like what Golden Keep does and all of that. We're going to talk about it. And I want to hear about your history of games and what kind of games you like to play, all that stuff. So thank you for coming and being here and talking to me about yourselves in the store.
Thanks for
Awesome.
having us, Matt.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, so I often start these interviews with like asking people like I used to ask like what was your entry into gaming, and I've evolved in my questions to be like everybody plays games, almost everyone plays games, even if you played like marbles as a kid, right? I mean, gaming is not a mystery, right? People play games. Um, but there's some other level that's like, but now we need to like do the thing as a business, a creator of not just a player of games, but a creator of something in games. So for you, like having a store and it's like not that old of a store, um, so like at your, I mean, I don't want to impugn your ages or whatever, but you're not that young either. So like you've been doing a lot of other life until you had a store. So like
Right.
what what is the path like in broad terms? What decided you that like, oh, games is
What
where it's
brought
at?
us here? What
Yeah,
brought
what
us here? Well, we both have a childhood love of games, and I
yeah,
think you're totally right. Everyone plays games, right? There are imaginary rules to every play session,
sure.
and so every kid naturally knows how to play games, and so we just kind of make more and more complicated games as we grow up.
Right.
The owning a game store is kind of like the most complicated game we could think of. Um, but
It's worker placement,
yeah,
resource
yeah,
management,
yeah, it's got all the
area
all the great
control
mechanics. Yeah,
game.
I definitely didn't know those terms when I was a kid, but I played a lot of card games because that's what my
Mm,
parents were playing with their friends, like 52 card games.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then my brother and I played Monopoly, Sorry,
Yeah,
Kerplunk.
yeah, the
That was a
classics.
favorite, the classics. Um, and I think Phil grew up playing board games as well.
yeah, I played a lot of board games.
D-
As far as like the business, we kind of came to it through our passion of the hobby and through the pandemic when everything changed for
mm,
everyone. We started thinking about what we wanted to do with the next chapter. And we decided that we wanted to sell something that we liked. We wanted to sell something that we thought was successfully, like from an industry point of view, expanding and growing in a healthy way, and something that we wanted to be a part of.
yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it was recognizing during the pandemic that being reminded, I guess, that games bring people together,
Mm,
and it really suited that need to like build the community that we want.
yeah. I think there is like a lot of I mean, it was noticed, right, that the sales went up, like board games sales went up and stuff like that during the pandemic because people they're stuck at home and like I guess time to like get those boxes of games out of the closet or buy new ones on the internet or whatever and because you're not going to a lot of stores at the time, but
Right.
role
And
playing
D&D through
games.
Discord was
Yeah,
huge. Yeah,
right.
role-playing games. D&D
Yeah, I
through
mean,
Discord and the evolution of D&D Beyond.com is crazy.
yeah, I mean
Just opened the door for everyone.
it makes sense. So did you have business experience at like running businesses previously, or is that another layer of the learning curve to go into games? Or
Right. Well, this is our first retail business.
okay.
I was in nonprofit before this. And we had a brief lived fine art business, where we were throwing galleries representing artists, throwing openings and representing
Yeah,
artists.
yeah.
And
There's
our
art on the
first,
walls behind both of you, so
oh
that
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
we have lots of art.
not
Yeah,
a,
we have
Yeah.
lots of art.
not surprised to hear that you had a gallery scene.
Right. But our opening night was March 12th, the night of the pandemic, and
Hmm.
like the
March 12th,
night
2020.
Yeah,
so the night everyone got a text message to stay inside,
yeah.
We had
we
our
just
opening.
we just were opening our doors.
Yeah.
And then we closed them.
Mm,
So
that's real
there was
rough.
a big pivot. Yeah, it was a big pivot.
Yeah, the art sat in the gallery, a closed gallery for 6 months, and then we started being able to do like by appointment only, but it just wasn't enough to have legs.
Yeah,
And so we, like Phil said, we had to pivot.
that's unfortunate to your timing to be that good, that or that
Right,
precise, you know.
right. It was
Uh
perfect.
uh Perfectly the wrong timing. Um
Yeah,
but so you made the pivot. So like you mentioned some of the games that you had games been like the whole time? Like, I mean, I mean, it's now like 30 years old, but like the board game sort of revival, the Euro influx of like things that kind of revitalized games that made them more than, American games like Candyland and Mousetrap, or, they have something
sure.
going on, but like even games like what are those big box games like Conquest of the Empire and Fortress America, those are big complex games, but that's not the worker placement, the cube pusher, the deck
No.
building. All of that stuff came from Europe years ago at this point. But like there was a big revival. Had you been up with
Yeah,
the
I
game
think
industry, right? Had you kept up with games since younger age?
I personally like was on the cusp. I grew up in the movement. I
Hmm.
remember in high school playing Catan and playing the
Mm,
Age of Mythology miniature game, which was so ahead of its time. Uh, that's a bit of a rabbit hole, but um, just the concept of worker placement, phase its management, these things that were pretty early uh in my world. And then I played Magic in middle school. I think I
sure.
was 9 years old. I was first shown a player's handbook, you know. Um it's been in my world for a long,
Yeah,
long
yeah.
time.
So you mentioned there's kind of like four pillars, I guess, kind of for a game store. There's like, and I may be getting my questions out of order here, but like the board games, card games, like especially the collectible ones, like Magic, miniatures games, and role-playing games. Those are sort of like the
Right.
four pillars of nerddom. And I've been to your shop, and you kind of have a little bit of everything there. You've got some paints, you've got some games. I mean, what is the mix from your point of view of like you're a board game store that also has some paints in the corner, or you're a you try to be whatever 40/40 RPGs and role-playing games, and
Right.
then
Right.
yeah, you could also get Pokemon here if you really want to, but that's just up by the cash register. It's not really a thing we do.
Right. It's hard to talk about because from a certain point of view, the square footage and the value, like monetary value that I've
Mm,
invested in the inventory don't always look the same, right?
yeah,
So it's two balances. One is the square footage you're allotting a department, which is kind of what you're talking about. How much is miniatures? How much is board games? How much is art supplies? But then you also think about how much buying we're doing in each department. How much is it turning? Where's the revenue coming from, and how many square feet are you devoting to each kind of line? What drives the bus, so to speak.
sure.
Um, we also didn't want, we wanted our inventory to be something that made us different, um, something that you don't see anywhere else. And so that's why we have the small business showcase section of our store, why we have the maker goods and the crafter kind of vibes. We have some game design products we try and stock, and there, so that we really want to bend what a game shop was or is in for a lot of people into kind of a new boutique uh vision.
Yeah, you've got
And
kind
because
of
we have limited space, we can't possibly have everything, right? So
sure.
we, like you mentioned, we have a little bit of everything for the tabletop enthusiasts, but we also do custom orders because of that reason. If
Mm,
somebody comes in and they're looking for a specific Catan expansion or whatever,
right.
we don't carry all the expansions of Catan because that would take up way too much space.
That's yeah.
So we do a lot of custom orders. I think we probably have, 75, 100 requests at this point.
Right.
Um, and so that I think that's makes us stand out.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's a
I totally agree. Go ahead.
uh there's the so I think I skipped one of my sort of like questions here. It's sort of like we've talked a little bit about the game store, but like give us like you're talking about like trying to stand out. Like what are some things that and you don't have to like put a hit out on any of the other companies that are around town. But like
I would never.
you
No.
know, we could all be friendly locally, but there are specific things that like Golden Keep. What is your pitch for like what is the Golden Keep like vibe? That what is when you say you want it to be more crafty, have a more I forget the exact word that you just said, Medina, but there's a thing you're trying to do with the store, and so what is that like? What's your basic sort of pitch for your game store?
Right. Well, I think our one line pitch
Yeah.
is uh we are a safe and accessible space for everyone in the gaming hobby, right? So that's our like one line pitch. That's our mission. Accessibility and kind of a very happy fun vibe. But um the store itself is more about the community that we're building, the
Mm,
culture around the space, and trying to invite in to the hobby some of the people that maybe don't feel comfortable in the local shop scene. Because when we did a lot of research when we were planning this, what we found was a lot of people were really frustrated with the board gamers out there because they don't buy board games in game shops.
mm.
Um, but
A,
we
a
felt like
classic
that.
problem.
Right, right. People buy online. It's a little cheaper. It's definitely easier. And the thing that drives people to the store is the community and the connection, right?
Hmm.
And as the gaming industry has exploded after the pandemic, there's a new problem, and that's bloat to the industry, and that's where we as a boutique space really find a niche service, and that is curation, knowledge of the industry, an eye on what's happening, and maybe a bit of a taste for games, right? So, if you don't know what you like, but you know you like Wingspan, I can help you find your next game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, I mean that's pretty good. A boutique was the word that you had said. You've said it a couple times now, and there is kind of this like you're in sort of like I don't know, it the fancy it's not the fanciest part of our town, but it is like you're in like sort of a it's not a strip mall situation. It's a little fancier than that. It's sort of a
Right.
glorified strip mall. And so there's across the street you can get across the little promenade from your shop, you can go to like actual boutiques and get like your hair done. And there's like, fancy, isn't there like a fancy dog treat place that's also it's
Next
like
door,
next door
Right
that
next door to
directly next
us.
door.
and
Yeah,
and and so like there is sort of this you're in sort of a group of stores that are sort of like presenting themselves as like for fancy people like and um it, I'm sure that contributes to the kind of vibe that you kind of have to put out there, right? To sort of compete with.
sure.
I mean, is that I'm sure that's part of your consideration, but like, is it a big part of it, or is it, you know, I don't know. I guess what I'm asking is more like about like trying to match the people who are already there in the shopping center or
Yeah,
creating
I
a
think
place where people are going to
yeah,
come no matter
yeah, yeah,
what.
yeah. Yeah, I think so gaming shops traditionally are destination businesses. You find somewhere with cheap enough rent and you know that your fans, the people who want what you have, are going to find you.
Hmm.
And that's the reality of most game stores because it's hard to afford spaces where people come to spend money. But it was really important for us to be in a space where people go to spend money. Um,
And we
be,
didn't necessarily choose Westport. We didn't seek out Westport Village. We sought out accessibility,
Mm.
and like physical accessibility
Right.
mostly, right? And so that's kind of the space that was still there after we had looked at lots of other spaces. It wasn't our initial plan to be like a boutique. We were, kind of our vision was more urban style, like graffiti on the walls and stuff like
Mm.
that. And obviously, that's not what fits at Westport Village. And so we just kind of ended up there. And then, you have to cater to your audience, right? At Westport Village, of course, we have the gamers that come, that seek us out. But then we also have a lot of walk in traffic from Westport Village that are just poking their head in and going, what is all this?
Yeah.
right.
Right. So we've kind of had to pivot, what we carry and how we approach our customers based on the location.
Absolutely. And I would say that it's a demographic it was important for me to have around our business, but that person who doesn't know much about game stores to come in
Yeah.
and give us a chance to sell them on the hobby. Now, we um we didn't quite know how we were going to do that when we were setting out. It was a goal.
Yeah.
But when we found ourselves in Westport Village, we found ourselves with a really great tool. This kind of walking mall, this kind of you called it a glorified strip mall. I would say it's a strip mall with excellent
Upscale.
landscaping, right?
There you go.
That's the real difference. It's got a bigger parking lot and better landscaping, but it's essentially three. That's okay. Like that's what it is. The strip malls work. That's why they're all over America, right?
Uh-huh.
So figuring out how to make it more valuable, awesome. Let's do that everywhere.
Yeah.
It's also prettier.
It is pretty. Like the landscaping is, yeah, it is nice. It's a nice place to go do walk and shop.
Yeah.
And
For
it's turned
sure.
out to be an excellent location for us. And the staff at Westport Village is fantastic. They're very supportive of our
Yeah,
business.
absolutely.
Lots of opportunities to promote ourselves.
Yeah, and so many non-monetary values,
Mm.
things like um, Santa visits and landscaping and just the marketing. They have so much social media presence, and on their social medias once a week about we are featured because we participate and we want to share that with them, and so it's a really synergistic relationship for the most part.
Not
Yeah.
cheap, but
No, not cheap, but valuable.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, and I mean, I was kind of asking this a little bit before about the like you said, Phil, like the turn of how much throughput to the store, like what is selling that we have to keep
Sales
buying and get
velocity or
replaced.
turn rate. Yeah.
Turn rate. And you know, I think from myself as somebody who has not who only participates in retail stores as like I go in to buy like the three things that I want and then I leave. The sort of the myth is that like you've got to have sort of one of those anchor products from one of those lifestyle games that like there's going to be a horde of people that are going to come in and they're going to buy every new Magic set. They're going to buy a whole box of Magic every weekend because that's their lifestyle game. Or you're going to have to be a Warhammer store and you're going to have to sell the Warhammer stuff because the people want the new stuff for Warhammer because they've dedicated their lives to playing Warhammer
Absolutely.
or whatever. I mean,
Absolutely.
that is sort of a myth, I think, of retail, or it may not be a myth. I mean, it's a story that is told about like how every store survives. There's a thing that you're tied to that one product that you have to
Right.
have that or you can't survive. Is
That
that
absolutely is real. I mean,
mm,
what you're talking about are models, right? Business models. And
yeah.
and, and from a game store perspective, there are a few models that have been proven to be very productive. Um, the myth is not that they are productive, but that they're the only way to do it,
Mm,
right? And what we're finding is that a lot of people's lifestyle product is whatever you're excited about. You know what I'm a lot of people just want to see the a new game that they can enjoy with new friends, create new community, interconnecting. And then on top of that, we have the paid art role play game model, which is something that doesn't work in a lot of places, but is working for us. And that's kind of like, 4 nights a week. If you want to play an RPG, you can come on down and see what we're running. Um, and we pay our DMs because we charge $10 a seat, and it seems to be working. So that's exciting.
Yeah, we're
yeah.
still in the experimental phase, right? Like we
Right,
don't
we're
have it
throwing
all
things at
figured
the wall.
out. Um, Obviously we're just 14 months into this, so
Right.
take that as you will. But yeah, we're trying a lot of things and finding out what works and what doesn't work for us. And as far as like having, every new release, we try to have some representation there, but we also are not afraid to refer people to other places
Right.
that have been doing it longer and are doing it better, right? Like we all, I think in Louisville, all the game stores kind of have their niche that they're good at,
Hmm.
and it feels pretty synergistic from our standpoint. Um, but we
Right.
do have some Warhammer, we do have some Magic, we do have some Pokemon.
Sure.
There is representation there. It's just not all encompassing because we don't have the space for that,
Yeah.
right? We could get rid of everything else and just be a card shop, but that's not what our vision is for our business.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the trick, right? Is to like have the have be able to do enough of what you want to do and enough of the other things that you maybe feel you have to do have a thing you enjoy doing
Yeah.
overall,
Yeah.
Right.
um you
Not sell
mentioned
our soul to wizards.
right. Yeah, they're only they're only 60% of the RPG industry. It's what's wrong.
Right.
um
Right.
uh if they may be
Monopoly
more.
Schmonopoly. The terrible
Right.
game.
But you could have whatever. I'm sure you have though a rack. I think I've seen it. You've got like the Dogopoly, the like Statesopoly, like whatever. You've got a rack of that stuff because
Well,
people will buy them,
yeah, we
right?
have we have we have some classic games, and we try and keep it more centered to what our fan base would like. We like Dune themed games. We like maybe a D&D Monopoly, you know. Uh those we try and keep it kind of in our pocket because it can get pretty overwhelming. And when you start going down that road, like where do you stop? You know?
Right.
And
And we
so
have some
Marvel
classic game.
Trivial Pursuit and D&D Clue are like right in our pocket, you know?
Right. And we do have some of the classic games like dominoes and chess and that kind of stuff. And it's usually right up front. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
noticed that, but it's right up front because I want anybody that walks by and peeks in to see something they recognize immediately
Yeah.
so that they don't feel intimidated to come in. Everybody
Right.
knows what dominoes is or chess, right? Even if you
Yeah.
don't play it, you know what it is.
It's got a sort of a cultural resonance, right? That even as popular as Wingspan has been, it has not yet achieved the same cultural
Right,
relevance as
right,
like chess.
right.
Right.
Um, and you have Wingspan too, of course.
Of
Yep.
Um,
course.
uh,
And
And
Wormspan and
and
Finspan.
Finspan.
and Finspan, yeah, it's out. It's
We
out
got the
now.
demo.
Oh, the demo. Okay, it's
We
because
got the
it's coming
demo. We're
out.
we're taking pre-sale. Yeah.
Yeah, it
So,
comes out next month.
all right. So talking about pre-sale or like demos, and you've mentioned your board game night, or you playing slots for a
RPGs. Yep.
RPGs table. What is that like? You've again, like kind of hitting the same theme that we've talked about. Like I've seen your event list. I mean, it is kind of like a little bit of everything, right? You've got painting events, you've got learn to play RPGs, you've got demo new board games, you've got constructed miniatures or like organized miniature play on certain night. You got a little bit of everything, right? But if there's anything tell us what that's. I mean, obviously it's a strategy, I assume, on your part. It's not just happened that way. So tell us about that and
Right.
like building out your because you've mentioned community a couple times in already in the interview, and like that's I assume part of building that community is to be like if this is a destination store, you come here for your tournament, you come here for your demos, you come here to play your weekly role-playing game. Like
Right, right. We're
that's the
trying to
model,
build
right?
ourselves into people's weekly pattern,
Mm,
to a certain extent. We
Yeah, being a third place.
Right.
excellent,
On
excellent.
Friday night, one of our most successful events is our kids D&D. We call it Level 1 Adventures League. It's ages 8 to 13, and it's run by our staff Nelson, who's just so good at it. And we we sold out 3 events for January on January 3rd. It packs in. And it's become like the kids' weekly thing. On Thursday they have baseball, and on Friday they play D&D.
Hmm.
And we've become part of that weekly schedule. And on Saturdays with our card events, you know, we have about 4 or 5 people that just spend their Saturday afternoons with us. It's just what they do on their Saturday afternoons. They come in with their Dunkin' Donuts, they play cards for 2 hours, and then they talk shop for another hour, and then they might stick around and play some more cards. They just really love being in the space, and we love having them. And because we monetize our events, there's so little pressure for them to be buying or shopping. They feel comfortable sitting at the desk and maybe not playing a game for a minute. Maybe even looking at their computer, or talking to a friend, or meeting someone new. And you'd be surprised how many times my regulars actually become salesmen as new people come into the shop, and all of a sudden they're out there demoing games and giving tours of the store, and they've become part of the community in a way that gives them a sense of ownership over the space, and a minor sense of authority, of
Hmm.
like, this is mine and I can show you
Yeah.
this. And that's so important.
Well, I mean, that's
Maybe
that
it's maybe
community.
it's a false sense of ownership, false sense of authority, but it's the illusion we're projecting out there, that they feel so comfortable that they can actually take part in this with us.
Well, it's the community thing. I mean, you got to have the communities. I mean, if it's true like community in that way, right? It's like that somebody that you've created a space where then somebody can see like, oh, I like this space. Let me show you what I like about it and take them around. And I do actually know what that's like because people do that with the at the booth, like when
Yeah.
we go to conventions, you'll have people in you'll walk up and you'll be like, "Oh, wait, I know you." And they're like, "Yeah, I'm here to tell my friend about this game." And then they'll pick up the book and they're on the aisle side of the booth and they're explaining. And I'm just standing there like nodding along, like, "You're doing it. You're." And those are all the
Doing
good
great,
points.
buddy.
Good job. Good job.
And
You keep
sometimes
at it.
more enthusiastic than you could be at that point in the con, right?
Sometimes,
It's like, thank you.
sometimes.
Yeah.
And
As far
there's,
as our, from my perspective, our events have also been a bit of an experiment, right?
mhm,
Because we listen to the community. What do they want? If we consistently host something that no one shows up to, that doesn't get continue to have space on our calendar.
right.
Um, Kids D&D has been amazing. So now we have 3 scheduled for February, and we're starting one for older teenagers, ages 13 to 17. So that gets more space on our calendar because we are listening to what our community wants, right? So it's been an experiment like our other inventory. So it's ever evolving,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
There's a fluidity to it that's necessary for it to succeed.
right?
yeah. So I have a couple questions here that I haven't I got a couple more questions here that I want to ask you, but one thing I want to say is or do you because I've been in your space and you don't have a ton of space dedicated well you don't have a ton of space period but you don't have a ton of space dedicated to tables and like play
Right.
space. So are these events like what kind of scale are these events currently for you? Like is it you've got like the table where the event is happening and that's got 4 to 8 players and that's the space for tonight is that one event? Or
Yep.
are there more tables in the back that I'm not that I don't remember? You got multiple tables. So it's kind of like one table, one event each night.
Yep, that's exactly it. And occasionally we will, like, for mostly for card events, if we have more than 10 people show up, we'll bring out a folding table and make some more space. But it's always just one event. We might have multiple events in the same day, but they don't
Mm,
ever overlap, right?
yeah,
We'll have a card event in the morning and then a card event in the evening. But we don't have enough table space to have
yeah,
overlapping events. It just doesn't work.
Right.
yeah,
And the table we have is like a war table, right? So it's like it can seat up to maybe 8 or 9 at the table comfortably, but you can also break it up. It splits in half. Then you have modularity. We can have 2 5-player games going on. We can have one kind of square war table if we need it, and or we can bring the folding table out and kind of have 3 4-player card tables going at the same time.
yeah. That's
So
good.
there's
Initially,
a little modularity to it, but
initially when we
it's tight.
got that space, we were thinking about not having a play space at all, because in order to uh, pay rent,
Yeah, yeah,
we need to monetize every inch of that space, right? But that's kind of how we are getting around that, is by charging for some of the events. We still have a lot of free events, free learn to plays and community days and things like that, casual meetups. But we do charge for some of our events, and that helps us justify dedicating space
yeah.
for people to play. It's important in a game store that you have at least a table, right? Like
Hmm.
somewhere people can, even if it's just to demo a game, right?
Yeah,
Like you need to have some sort of space.
Yeah.
Um, and we have that demo library where people can come when there's not an event happening and pull down a game and play it. So it was the right decision to change that and include a play space, even though it's small.
yeah.
Right. We were looking at having a small table for demos anyway, and then we were like, well, if we're gonna have a small table, let's have a big table. And then we were like, well, let's if we're gonna have a big table, let's like make it a really big table. It's like, well, hey, let's instead of a really big table, let's get 2 regular tables and we'll put them together. And that's where we landed.
Yeah.
This is table creep. Um,
Yep, it's table creep. You
uh,
got to be aware of it. I've
uh,
seen stores that don't check it.
well, the other game person that I talked to, a game store manager that I talked to like last month, they have like they have a lot of table space, but they do rent them. It's like you can come in and they've got like 20 tables in there, but like it costs you money to sit down and do anything at those tables. Like
Right.
they are also monetizing that space. So
Yeah. You
you're
have
not,
to.
yeah. Uh, so one other thing that I wanted to ask you both about the job, and I had another question that I didn't write down and I forgot it already, so like, I guess it's lost. Maybe I'll remember. But like one thing that I wanted to ask you both about, because running a business on any level is hard, especially I mean I guess if you're like a CEO with a big office or whatever, it's not that hard. But like a small business is hard to do. So what's a thing that really brings you joy about the job that you're doing? Like when, it can be anything about like the store or opening up or closing down or hearing about it in whatever. What's something for each of you that really like brings you a real sense of like, ah, yes, this is this makes all the other moments worth it for you.
Without hesitation, for me, it is when people come into our space, and tell us that they feel safe there, they feel
Mm,
welcome. People that come from marginalized communities that maybe don't feel safe in some game stores. They don't feel like they fit in. They come to our shop and they say, "We feel safe here. We feel welcome." They come to our booth at Pride and they cry. Like that. That brings me the most joy, I would say.
excellent.
Yeah. Uh, Kids playing D&D is a hell of a joy buster. If you ever want to just smile, come into our shop Friday in between 6 and 8:30, and the children mimicking their epic encounters as they LARP with rulers and cheese puff dust on their face. It's just they are just having so much damn fun. And so that's that's always exciting to see and hear and feel that energy coming out. You know, kids laughing is really good for you. And then what else? When people ask if we're a franchise,
Mm,
that means that like the work we did meant like we did well.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's always like a feeling of like, no,
Pride.
but thank you. You know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
no, I built this with my own hands.
yeah,
No one gave me the template for this, you know.
yeah. That that
Oh,
is that is like a weird flex, but I could understand it. Like where it's like, oh
yeah.
yeah, of course. Like if you come into the store and think like, oh, they got this off the shelf and it came with these stickers and whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look at how nice it is in here. This must be a place somewhere else that's
Right.
bigger.
Right.
Well, and
That.
like every employee is wearing branded shirts and they all have name tags that are branded and it's like it looks crisp and it's
Like,
intentional, but it's really nice when somebody sees that and thinks
Mhm.
that it was kind of given to us in a cute box,
Yeah.
to just implement.
Well, it's
'cause that
the
means our brand is packaged, right? That means that we've really put the whole bow on.
yeah. So, what are some things that you want to do next? Like, obviously continue to pay your rent and
Yeah,
grow your community and all those sort of things. But
get
is there
paid.
anything, yeah, get
I'd
paid.
love to get paid
Get
eventually.
get paid.
Right
Sure. I
now
mean,
we're not
that's
we're not getting paid yet. We're
yeah,
still we're not putting money in anymore, really. We're right now we're operating, and I think that's not unnormal
yeah,
for a year and a half year old business, right? Um, we're doing great. I'm excited. I want to see our growth continue to grow. We saw about 30% growth last year, and we're expecting to see more of that. And if we keep growing, we're gonna do just fine.
that's great.
As far as what's next, we have lots of ideas and none are ready to share yet.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Right, like right now, I think the responsible goal is existence,
Mm,
right?
sure.
Sustainability, n- not relying on Medina and I's labor for free, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, those are crutches that the business is using to get on its legs. But the business needs to get on its legs before we can look down the barrel of anything else.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I mean, it is this thing I've been doing is like we're coming up on 10 years and like I'm just now starting to pay myself anything like a wage. Um
Right.
and that's it's obviously not the thing that I've been doing full time for 10 years,
sure.
but it is it takes a while to get a business underneath that it can support itself.
Absolutely.
Um
Yeah.
Just that's all I was trying to confirm that with. So I got a couple questions about connecting with you all. Like, where, if, because I assume I know a lot of indie designers are, my friends in the small publisher sphere are going to be watching this video. How how is the best way for them to get their games in your store, if that's something like, if that's even possible? Like, what's the best
Well,
chance for like a
it, it,
small publisher? Because
it's
like, yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, we've met you and we're local, and like when you need stuff from us, Brandon literally like delivers it himself from our storage
Right.
unit, right? Like it's a very unofficial sort of like, I mean, it's official because it's business to business or whatever, but it's like based on proximity and willingness to do that.
It's
Like
it's also friends dropping 3 books off at your store. It's not
right.
it's not like we're not ordering huge numbers and we're not bringing them in all at once quarterly or anything like that.
Right. So, but if somebody's based out of Vancouver and they're watching this and they've got a cool game and they
Absolutely.
want to be in your store, like there's more challenges involved. So, like, is there a route? Because you said you've got the small publisher corner of your store. So, like, what are some ways that what's the best way?
Right.
Where do you look
Right.
for titles to fill up that
Well, I
space?
think that there's more of a chance that we'll put your game in our store than a lot of game stores will put your game in our store.
Uh-huh.
But we Well, we would love to hear from everybody, and you can email us at goldenkeepgameco dot nope, that's our website, goldenkeepgameco.com. But goldenkeepgameco at gmail.com is our email. And you can send us an email with that in the subject, that maybe the name of your game and maybe a pitch, small blurb. I will also say that we are always looking for POC designers, queer designers, female designers. If you want someone to help showcase your game, let us know. We have visibility in game design stickers that we put on every box if we can verify that it's true. So we try and we will prioritize designers of other walks of life. There's just a little bit too many white male designed games.
Uh, it's true. It's a lot of the industry for sure. Um, cool. You already kind of went through some of your connection points there, like with your website and your email. Is there any other place to connect with you guys? I mean, I know you're on some of the social medias. Well,
Yeah.
before we do the social medias, is there any other things you'd like to say about your store? Because we're not quite at the end of the time. So like if you yeah, what else? What have we missed? We've had I don't know, it
I
hasn't been a
invite
deep
people
discussion,
to
but well, yeah, go ahead.
I invite people to check out our events calendar and
Mm.
stop by the shop, check it out, even if it's just like a learn to play. Those are usually drop-in friendly. Um, we have something scheduled every day of the week, whether it be a free event or a paid event. Um, and the calendar is on our Discord. It's on our Facebook and Instagram. Facebook and Instagram, you can find us at Golden Keep Games. And Discord, the best way to find that is to go to our website, goldenkeepgameco.com, and there's a permanent link to our Discord at the top of the page.
Yeah,
Um,
the link is also in the bio of our Instagram.
yeah.
So you got Instagram, Facebook, Discord, website, email, lots of ways to get a hold of you.
All
Correct.
over the place. And we're in Westport Village in Louisville, Kentucky. So if you're in town, come by and say hello.
Say hello. Come on down.
You're always welcome.
It's pretty great. All right. Well, I don't have any other questions. If you've said all that you want to say, that's great. We're gonna close out a little earlier than an hour, which is fine. We don't have not all my interviews have to be an hour long. That's not a goal. It just it happened. But I really appreciate your time today talking about your store, telling us a little bit about the way you operate and what you're trying to accomplish. So thank you so much for that. And
Thank you for having us. It's been
Yeah,
fun
thanks for
chatting.
talking.
yeah,
It was great.
it is. And we'll see you at this interview is going to come out I think
Gamma.
in just a couple weeks, and we'll see you at Gamma Expo.
Yeah.
I assume I'll see you at Gamma Expo. Like,
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
you
we'll be
will.
there. We'll be there.
everybody that I'm talking to recently is that's the reference point is like, will we be at Gamma? So like you'll
Right. Right.
uh that's
And
the
then Love
next
Thy Gamer
thing.
after that.
That's true. That's true. That's
It's gonna be
Brandon has
two weekends in a row with us.
Brandon has organized I I don't even know. It's like a local. It's a con, I
Right.
guess. It's like
Right.
a local con.
It's a gaming event.
It's a gaming event. It's not quite a con, but I don't know. He's been organizing it. I haven't organized it.
It's
So
like a conling. Like a bit what's a hatchling of a con?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like a
yeah.
little like a wormling
Conling
of a
likes
con. Yeah.
a mini. Sometimes people call them mini cons. So
That's yeah, okay, cool.
I don't know.
Well,
Conling.
whatever we want to call it, I expect to see you there and I can't wait.
All right. Well, he's put together such a great guest list. How could I stay away? So
Right.
that's right. So
All
once
right.
again, thank you for your time, and thanks for everyone who watched the video. What's your favorite local game store that you go to? Put it in the comments. We'll shout out your where you get your games from. Thanks for watching.
All right.